Well, Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome home from the holidays, or shall I say welcome back to work from the holidays. This is Harry Brelsford at SMB Nation and Office 365 Nation, giving you the first welcome of the year to what should be a prosperous 2015. We could go on and on and on about the jobs numbers and what's going on out in the economy, but more importantly, we're all back to work after quite frankly, what amounted to, it felt like about a 10-day, almost 2-week break, the way the holidays fell late in the week, each of the 2 weeks. So wanted to start with that. This is the weekly webinar series. It's 10 a.m. on the West Coast, 1 p.m. on the East Coast, and late afternoon over in Europe, not early evening. So thanks for joining us. Got a big crowd today to talk about what is also arguably one of the stories of the year, and that's Office 365. We're seeing tremendous momentum. A couple of shout-outs. I want to direct you to our community site, o365nation.com. We just actually launched a revamp of that yesterday. That's not announced. We'll announce that next week. But o365nation.com, where we have daily speeds and feeds concerning the Office 365 motion. And then we have our tour starting, which SkyKick is participating, but the tour starts off the 27th in the Seattle area, the 29th down in the Bay Area. And for that, you want to go to o365tour.smbnation.com or just click on the tour logo over on o365nation.com. With that said, we kind of have the housekeeping out of the way. Be sure to use the chat feature to ask your questions, and we'll answer that as we go. Today we've teamed with our friend SkyKick to talk about sort of the issue of the day with Office 365 migrations. I'm going to be working with Briant, and I'm actually coming to you live from their building on Lower Queen M in the Seattle area. Now, what's interesting about that is this is, I would consider SkyKick as a startup and kind of, capturing that Seattle culture of startups. They're, for those of you not from here, they're close to Amazon.com. In this part of town, Microsoft Redmond would be probably about 10 to 12 miles away across the bridge. But in this building, I discovered today as I came up, they have a pretty infamous satirical site, Cheeseburger. So maybe some of you know Cheeseburger up on the web as having the different cartoons and so on. So with that said, it is time to get going. So AJ, I see you across the room. Are you ready to rock and roll, sir?
Absolutely, Harry. Thank you so much. It's thrilled to be the inaugural presentation for the SMB Nation series this year. So thank you so much. I'm
Perfect. Hey, AJ. AJ, if you could turn up your volume just a little bit or get the mic closer to your mouth. I want to catch that up front.
How's that? Is that better?
A little bit better. A little bit better. Yes, sir. Well, let's get going.
Okay, great. So AJ Briant, I am Director of SMB for SkyKick. My colleague Peter Levis, who runs our business development, is also sort of in the community today. And as I said, we are thrilled to be the inaugural presentation here for SMB Nation, the SMB Nation community. And for those of you in Europe staying up late, and those of you across the country enjoying hopefully a break to what's going to be a good week, thank you so much for joining. So what I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to spend most of my time in actual software, showing you the SkyKick application platform. But all of this is in service of and in the context of how partners are having success with Office 365 today. We'll talk about some of the technical details. We'll talk about the process, the realities as business owners, as small business partner owners, and talk about, obviously, the business case and where the margins are, how you're dealing with revenue coming in, and we'll take questions along the way. One thing I'm going to call out as we start to get into this is that for Harry and your team, if there are questions that come up that I'm not seeing, just go ahead and jump in and get them in front of me so that I can answer them on the fly. I'm happy to do that. And so
Absolutely.
what we're going to do, I'm going to give you guys the model. So the SMB Nation community is very large, is very leading in terms of going after this cloud opportunity. And I think this is a really nice match because SkyKick has developed over the past several years a very, very strong partner base of partners primarily in North America, but now around the world. And we've got a large cohort of partners in every continent now, with the exception of Antarctica. who are really starting to go after the Office 365 opportunity. So I'm going to give you the overview about how they're doing that, where they're seeing success, how they're just decoding that for you. And then we're going to show you the software, and then we're going to wrap up and talk about a special offer that's available in most markets, a way to really lock in some of the margin story you see here as a partner. So let's start from the top. SkyKick created this category called migration project automation. Every partner out there has, in their history, has at some time or another been asked by a customer or even your own organization to migrate from an old email platform to a new email platform. So the category of migration is not new. What SkyKick has tried to accomplish is to take that category and actually make it work for partners. And so the challenge with migrations has always been that there are all these gotchas, all these little things that could pop up to make a project go bad. And when it's just you migrating yourself in your own organization, you can kind of deal with that, and you take some humble pie and take the lessons and go. But when you're trying to move your customer, that's where there's a lot of risk involved. If the customer feels like it's taking too long, if it's cost prohibitive, if their productivity takes a hit, there's too much downtime, if forbid they lose some data or have just the inability to do business, that can be a very traumatic event. And as a partner, that interjects risk into your relationship with customers. And so no partner wants to sign up for that risk unless they absolutely have to. And then the other part of that story is, it's really tough to make money doing that. Sometimes you have to have your best people managing these projects. They can be tied up for weeks on end. And again, even though they are your best people, even though you had all good plans and did your due diligence, there are so many little gotchas that are so specific to everyone's unique environment configuration that things can still go haywire, and you can end up upside down or at worst lose the customer. And so this whole space for partners has always been pretty tricky. Now you overlay that against this amazing Office 365 cloud opportunity, and I say amazing not because, hey, the annuity for Office 365 and the revenue partners are going to make from that is this astounding thing right out of the gate. We understand there's trade-offs. Before, you as partners might have been selling licenses for an Exchange server and making very good revenue from that, plus locking in the service contract with the customer. And Office 365 certainly is a game changer there. While there's longer-term revenues, there's also sort of a catalyst there that says you as a partner now have to think about, what am I doing beyond just Office 365? I'm moving that workload to the cloud. How am I going to service that customer longer term? And so from a revenue point of view, Office 365 does represent a good, strong, long-term opportunity. But in the short term, there's revenue risk there for you. And so what partners are telling us is, hey, I need a way to make good margin on this move to the cloud. Because Office 365 annuities are what they are. I want them, and I want the downstream opportunity, but I need to make good margin, number one. And number two, I've got lots of customers I could be talking to about Office 365, or even better, I've got lots of customers asking me about Office 365. So how can I scale? How can I sell more, and how can I do more without having to go build out some new team or go get some Exchange certifications that I don't have, and really, and win a deal that is coming from Google or GoDaddy or some other flavor of Pop or IMAP, or from a hosted Exchange environment, or from an on-prem Exchange, or even things like Notes or Zimbra. How can I go after because all these customers are moving to Office 365. How can I do that at scale? And so my assumption is that most of the folks on the call are decision makers for leading partners that are focused mostly in the SMB space. So I'm going to pursue that mindset as I go through this. So there's a lot of information on this chart. I'm not going to read through it. But the key thing I want you to think about as a decision maker is that project and that whole story I just articulated, the value of SkyKick for partners, and this is what our thousands upon thousands of partners are telling us, is they are using the automation platform we've designed to go ahead and take that project, which was so risky, so time-consuming, and knock that down basically by about 90%. And let's be really, really clear. I'm talking about the email workload here. 98% of the deals you're going to do, the email workload is the mission-critical thing. When a customer says, hey, I'm ready to go to Office 365, they're starting with email, right? That's the first and foremost. Sure, SharePoint can be involved if they've gone down that path, although more than likely they haven't yet to some degree, and that's an afterthought, or that's a next step for a project, or there's a downstream opportunity for Link or some other things like Dynamic CRM or workflows or whatever it's going to be, whatever value add you're going to provide in that new platform. but email is the gateway and the key workload, and that's where we come to the rub here for partners, which is all these customers, and Microsoft is marketing Office 365 very, very effectively now. 3 years ago, it was tougher for sure, and those of you who've been in the game since BPAWS or even 2 or 3 years ago have probably seen, the market change. The market is moving very, very rapidly, and so many customers are going to ask and want to quote on Office 365, and the challenge for you as a partner is every single one of those customers has to re-platform all their old email because all their business-critical data is in email. Their day-to-day stuff, their sales stuff, legal, anything, you name it, email is a must-have workload. And you've got to migrate every single customer. Now, let's be really clear. Some customers can say, hey, I'm going to migrate myself. And, the challenge to that is, okay, that you could argue that's a penny-wise, pound-foolish mentality. And if they want to go that route, you still want to be able to attach partner record. And you actually want to sort of steer them away from trouble, steer them away from risk and downtime, and be able to articulate to them the value of a partner managing that project for them. And so that's really what SkyKick is built upon, is this notion that as customers embrace more cloud, as this cloud ecosystem evolves, partners play the central role. You guys are the ones that add the most value at that last mile, turning concept into reality. And so our software is dedicated to that notion. Our software is dedicated to the notion of you having success at scale with Office 365, and that the gateway workload, we try to make the automation as pristine as possible and take that risk off the table to let you make more money and let you go faster without having to hire new resources. And that, in a nutshell, is SkyKick, and that's where we come from with our Partner of the Year award from Microsoft in the ISV category for cloud, and our great relationships with SMB Nation, Synnex, Ingram, and a lot of the accolades we've received over the past couple of years. So that's who we are. And our model, by the way, as I dig into this, is 100% to partner. So SkyKick is not a piece of software that customers are out in the marketplace buying or getting quotes on. SkyKick is software designed 100% for the Microsoft reseller partner community. So if you're a partner, SkyKick is for you. If you're a customer, you want to find the right partner who's going to move you to the cloud. And as a partner, we think we're going to offer you the best solution. And we're entirely architected from an organizational point of view as an organization that serves partners. And so I'm sitting here in our office, and Harry can attest to this. We've got a very nice support team here that's available 24 by 5, also during the days on weekends, that is, serves the partner community. So when partners are running a project to move a customer to the cloud, they've got frontline access to our best support team, and it's not a model where, we're trying to look and position SkyKick as the hero. Our goal is that you're the hero for that customer. Our automation is going to be very robust. I'm going to walk you through some of it in just a moment. And you can think of it conceptually this way. Our automation, let's say it automates 90x% of the work today in the migration. It's never going to get to 100%, right? It's going to be 90, maybe it goes from 91 to 92, et cetera. But that last mile, even as the automation improves and gets smarter and smarter, that last mile becomes more and more and more critical. And that partner, that customer needs to know that you're driving the show, that you're the one providing that last mile value. And our goal is every time you're getting that value, getting good margin, and growing your cloud practice. And so this is data that's really important. If you're still not if it's still not quite landing with you in terms of the opportunity / the challenge of this space, hopefully these data points right here, which come from Microsoft, will hammer it home. And so this reality of the cloud opportunity is it's moving fast, as I said. And so we asked Microsoft, we gave them some sort of naked, we gave them sort of a naked view of some data from some of our partners, and we said, give us some numbers. How are our partners doing? How are SkyKick partners doing against basic Microsoft partners who aren't using SkyKick? And here's the basic results. And this is US-based data. SkyKick partners are doing 2 times the deals, so they're selling more quickly and they're executing more easily. The deals are larger. Average deal size is nearly double. And that this is a self-reported figure. When you do these projects, right, forget if it was migrations for a moment. If it was simply a professional services type project or a custom development project for a customer, typically partners, the data point I hear, because I spend a lot of time talking to top SMB partners, is I want to earn about 40 points of margin on a project. That's kind of my ideal as a partner. Well, SkyKick partners self-report back to us, and we know this because we survey every partner after every project they do on our platform. They're reporting margins significantly beyond that 40% number, right? And so in every category. Am I making more money to sort of, am I getting a nice windfall of profit up front? Am I able to sell this more quickly? Am I selling deals that are adding to my bottom line and my top line? The answer is yes, yes, and yes. And so what I want to do now is transition from telling you sort of the overall opportunity and how partners are doing it up with broad brushstrokes, and now I want to go into the actual application and just talk about how the software works. And the really important thing as I make this transition is that our platform,
Yeah, hey, I got a question if you're agreeable. Would you like questions as they come in, or would you kind of like to wait to a break point?
Well, actually, now's a fine break point, so go ahead.
Okay, great. So we have a listener, an attendee saying, one of the biggest challenges with migrations is when the customer has low bandwidth from the ISP. How can SkyKick help overcome this?
Absolutely. So you've got a customer with a low bandwidth situation, and the great thing, I'm going to get into this with the demo, but basically, our software has what I would call smart bandwidth control technology to recognize when there are bandwidth limitations, either on the server side or on the client side. Also, and I'll get to this in just a few minutes, you have the opportunity to override and manually configure some bandwidth settings so that, for example, you could slow the migration, the pre-syncing, which I'll talk about here in a moment, down to a drip during business hours, if you will, right? From 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. You could slow it down to a trickle. You could open up the pipe at night, and these are all configurable settings on our platform. The second answer to that question is that is part of how our technology works and why we've gotten such broad adoption and why Microsoft gave us that coveted ISV Partner of the Year award for cloud. And that's because our software and our platform has kind of changed the nature of what migrations have historically been. Traditionally, it's been a case of, okay, let me get everything all set up, make sure I've got people licensed on Office 365, let me do that provisioning, let me go race around and change the DNS settings, and now let me play race the clock on the client side. I've changed the DNS settings, mail flow is kind of in limbo, and now I need to hurry up over the course of a weekend and flip everyone's manual machines, right? And play race the clock. And what SkyKick's technology has done first and foremost is that it's basically baked into every single project a pilot phase prior to the cutover. And that pilot phase will automatically cut over all that server-side data in your customer's mail environment. And the DNS flip and the actual cutover can proceed after everything's been validated in that pilot phase. And then the other really important and cool thing there is that our automation technology will automatically perform delta syncs. So today, let's say I'm planning a migration, I'm planning to move my customer to Office 365, and my customers' people know that. Well, guess what's going to happen? Because humans are humans, right? When you move from an apartment or a condo or a house or whatever, people tend to shift things around, throw some garbage out, put some things in boxes, put them in different rooms, grab some new things from friends, etc. The same thing happens when customers are going to move, when they know there's an email move coming. And so what's going to happen is I announce to the team, hey, our 20-person shop is moving to the cloud next week. People are going to be changing their folder structures up until that cutover date for sure. And what our platform will do, and you don't have to manually manage this process, there's no concept of you changing things around, is our software is going to automatically go ahead and capture any changes, and we call it a delta sync, from once you schedule the project till it looks like we've got complete success on that pilot pre-syncing, up to and through and after that cutover date. Our software platform is automatically pre-syncing any changes. So the user did something on Thursday, the cutover date was over the weekend, and then on Monday, their mailbox looks exactly as they thought it would, even though they changed a bunch of things on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It captures all that automatically. And so this is the platform we designed. So that's a really important point, and thank you for giving me the cue for that. The other really important thing I want to tell you about this platform is that our partners who are doing these projects 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times a month, whatever, they're basically saying, I no longer have to say uncle. My sales team is free. They're getting bids out the door, and I can execute on a technical side when those bids come in as successful. What those partners are doing is they're sellers, and if you're a decision maker for a small shop, if you're selling and responding to SOWs, they're using our platform to sell. Okay, so our platform is meant for your technical hat to actually manage these projects, and our platform is designed for your sellers. And that's Those are really two important pieces of information. So enough with the PowerPoint for the moment. What I'd like to do now is walk you through a basic scenario. And in our platform, one of the things that I'll have a chance to highlight for you is our platform is continually evolving. And so what I want to introduce you to is the concept of, hey, what would be like the most typical scenario a partner would have on our platform? I don't have enough time to walk you through all the elements of the platform. Now, 6 months ago, I could have done an entire platform demo for you in about 30 or 40 minutes. But this is part of our secret sauce, I guess, part of who we are. Because our model is 100% to partner, and the only people, that's whose success we care about. We care about your success with the customer in terms of your customer's happy with the project, you made good margin, your efficiency was high, it was predictable, you were happy with your interactions with our support team, all that good stuff. Because we're only interacting with partners, our best partners are continually informing our roadmap, right? And so literally, maybe it's not every day, but it seems like it's some days it is, some weeks it is every day, but every other day or so, we're getting updates to new software that's landing on our portal. And so if you see this page today and you look at,
Yeah, before you click next, we have some questions coming in, and I don't want to get too far behind. If you don't mind, the next one says,
no worries.
Can SkyKick migrate multiple Exchange accounts in a single Outlook profile? I understand the person goes on to kind of write it out that Laura at company.A.com and Laura at company.B.com. I actually have multiple brands myself with SMB Nation and the 0365 Nation. Is that question clear, and can you answer that?
Sure. Yeah. So the concept would be if you've got vanity, basically I'm interpreting that as there's a user and you've got some vanity domains and they have an active email account with aliases or vanity domains. And the answer to that is yes, and I'll give you a little bit of that in the demo we're about to get into. But yeah, it's a good segue to really talk about how our platform has grown. So I'm going to show you the SMB project experience, but we also have the facility for what I would call enterprise projects and data-only projects. Enterprise projects are really, it's a bit of a misnomer. It doesn't mean it has to be a 500-seat project or even a 100-seat project. It could be a 5-seat project. But within the enterprise project experience, the partner has the facility to do things like that, better handle vanity domains. If the customer has IT and they're just super risk averse and they want to go in stages, the enterprise project experience will allow you to do some of those more advanced things. And so I'll surface some of that, but do know that partners use that sort of vanity domain. They do that from vanity domain piece all the time on our platform. Was there another question you had lined up?
No, we're cool for now. Just staying on top of it. Please proceed.
Okay, good stuff. Okay, so the SMB project, this is the IP that our platform was based upon. And so, as I was saying, our platform sees numerous O365 deployments all the time. It could be from O365 to O365. It could be from a P plan to an E plan or something like that. We call those O to O in our lingo, O365 to O365. It could be from basically any source environment, with the rub being to O365. We are all in on Office 365, and we are all in through to partner. And so the nice thing, though, is that every time you do a project, we get a survey result. If something wasn't quite as you expected, whether it was process-wise, guidance-wise, or how the application performed, we dig into that and we figure it out, and basically we're in a continual optimization loop. So as I go into this demo, the other thing I want you to think about, other than it's always an evolving platform, the sellers for our top partners are using our platform to help them sell, is that the way all this software is architected, the way this process is architected, this is all designed for partners. And so we spent over 100 years of 100 man-hours of developer time easily just to get this product out the door, and probably doubled, frankly, since then, probably up to about 200 years of developer time since then, to create a process that maps to how a partner would run a project, not how a customer is going to move themselves to the cloud, but how a partner is going to de-risk their move to the cloud. So this IP is all partner infused, and it's designed in such a way that two paramount things in mind. First is de-risk, de-risk, de-risk. So things are occurring proactively. Data is being pre-copied. Passwords and all this other stuff, we're making sure the automation platform is seeing that for you prior to cutover. If we're talking about DNS pieces, the check can be made right now within about 2 minutes from where I'm talking to say, hey, are these DNS credentials valid? Do you want to fully automate the DNS move? Great. The platform can validate it. You don't have to do anything. So it's proactively de-risking things. And then number two, an absolute premium placed on minimizing and mitigating downtime for end users. The whole point that a customer is going to move to Office 365 in their mind is certainly, better cost, cheaper for them as a customer, but it's also a productivity play, right, for their end users, right? They're saying implicitly, my people's productivity is of paramount importance to me. I want a platform that's going to enhance that productivity. So as a result, from a SkyKick point of view, it is not acceptable that a customer is going to go through downtime or delay in mail flow, or end users are going to have to pay some massive nuisance tax to move to the cloud. And so all of these factors are at play in the software that I'm going to walk you through now. So let's do that. So I'm going to go ahead and just start from basically, what a mainline scenario would be. And so as a partner, this is Awesome IT. Awesome IT is a proxy for all of you on the phone. You log into SkyKick. If you just go to skykick.com, let me just type that in real quick.
Hey, and AJ, while you're transitioning, just folks, it is we're at midpoint of the webinar, so it's 10:30 on the West Coast. You are attending the weekly SMB Nation and, dare I say, Office 365 Nation webinar series. Today it's Office 365 Migrations with SkyKick. Be sure to use your chat feature to ask your questions, and we'll take those as they come in. AJ, please continue.
Great. So when you log into SkyKick, we put all of our information behind this partner portal login page. So customers, if they know you're using SkyKick, if they know what SkyKick is, they're not driven to deep information about, hey, how much does SkyKick cost, how much automation does it cover, et cetera. The notion here is if a customer knows that you're using SkyKick, that's fine. You're using the leading automation platform in the industry, and kudos to you for doing that to make the project go more smoothly for them, but the credit should go to you as the partner. So you log in, and behind the firewall, you've got access to this interface. And there's things like pricing information, Learning Center content, which is deep dive technical, 200, 300 level content, and everything in between. So I just wanted to highlight that for you. If you currently are not a SkyKick partner, you're not going to have access to this page until you register. And so registering as a SkyKick partner is easy, and I'll talk about that at the close of the call. But basically, what I'm going to show you now, there is no blocker to everyone on this phone. Pretty much you are empowered to be doing what I'm doing right now. What I'm doing right now is the scenario of your customer has come to you and said, hey, Awesome IT, I'm thinking about moving to Office 365. You can explain to me the licensing, number one, but number two, can you move me there? Frankly, I think I want to be on the cloud next week. My old SBS server is dying. I want to be on the cloud next week. And you have to put together a pretty quick SOW that covers you and gets them, that gets them to agree that you're the right one to move into the cloud, and takes some margin in for you and lets you manage the project. And that's what this front-end interface is designed to do. You can use this interface right now free of charge, and it can be for a customer that you haven't won yet, that you know intimately. However, and wherever that customer is in the cycle, you can use the front end of this interface to go ahead and put together an SOW that customer will agree to move to Office 365. So let's go ahead and do this real quick. Rob Robertson will call him, and we'll go ahead and re-enter in the email address right there, and we'll go ahead and we'll call him Awesome Customer, Awesome SMB Nation Customer. So we're going to enter in these creds, and as a seller, this is something where if you've got this basic information, you're going to be able to. I can't express when partners do this for the first time how impressed they are with this value. But basically, what I'm doing here with one username and one password is I'm going to have everything I need to put together an SOW, both for this customer's move to the cloud as a partner, as well as licensing them in Office 365. So what's going to go on right now is I'm going to go ahead and validate that this one username and one password I've got for this customer are going to help me put together that SOW. Yeah.
Sorry, AJ. When I saw the screen with a little motion, I thought I'd sneak in a question. Sure. The question is, let's see. Let me back up. Hold on. Forgive me. Two questions. If users do not use Outlook, but use Outlook Web Access, can SkyKick still migrate that data? So OWA.
Yeah, it's a great question, and let me bring you to this chart right here because it's an easy answer, but it's illustrative with a visual. Okay, so let me scroll down here. So the great thing about email environments, and this is also part of the challenge for the partner, is that every email environment is a bit different, right? And so if you're talking about SBS or Exchange, the role of the client in terms of, what's there, it doesn't play as important of a role, meaning, the Outlook profile, multiple PSTs, things like address autocompletes and signature blocks, those last mile customizations, all that data and information is found in the client. And so for the SkyKick platform to bring those pieces across, you do need an Outlook 2007 or newer client on a PC for those elements of the migration to automatically proceed without you having to do things manually or the customer having to do things manually. And that's represented by these light blue checkboxes on this chart. So the role that having an Outlook client on a PC, a modern Outlook client on a Windows PC plays is really dependent upon each source mail environment. So as you look, you see POP and IMAP. It's really critical, for so many facets of the migration that there's an actual, not just an OA, but an actual Outlook client installed on a PC. For other technologies, it's less of a trade-off. So hopefully that answers the question.
It does, and you've also answered the next question, which I can also now answer, but do you support migrations from SBS 2003? And over in your far column, over in the far column, you had SBS 2003 listed. So I'm going to go out on a limb, AJ, and say the answer is yes.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, Harry. And let me just really quick. I looks like I entered in a bad password.
Yeah.
So let me pull in a different one real quick.
Well, I'll hold off on the Norway. The individual from Norway, hold tight a second. Why don't we jump back into your demo, and then I'll interrupt you again for a couple more questions in a moment.
Great. All right, so it looks like I had a bad cred. Let me re-enter that. And give me one more second. Sorry about the delay. And we will keep going. All right, let's go ahead and paste that in. There we go. Let's try that now. Okay. So, we're doing all this, and again, it's you may or may not have won the deal. Some partners, frankly, whose sellers aren't using our platform to help them close deals, they will say, "Hey, I've already won the deal. This is my customer. I'm an MSP. I've won the deal. I'm going to proceed forward. So now I'm just going to scope out what this SOW needs to look like." So really cool thing happened here. I entered in one username and one password for this person here at this SMB, awesome SMB Nation customer. And what SkyKick's platform has done for you as a partner right now is said, yep, we can see that source environment. That source environment's an on-prem exchange. It could be, now it's EWS, but it was WebDAV, right? WebDAV is the old SBS server, so it's going to tell you what the protocol is. And if, in fact, you might need some admin credentials in addition to the one username and one password. In this case, you can see by all the green checkboxes, the platform with this one username, one password is able to see everything you're going to need to see for that customer's source environment to configure your SOW. So I'm going to get to the next step, discovering what's on the source environment and all the users there. And this can be a really elongated process previously, but with this automation, with one username and one password, you're getting everything right now. So here's a really important question, and this is really, this speaks so much to the SMB partners out there, which is, when you're selling Office 365, are you doing Open, are you doing Advisor, and basically, this question right here, it's a simple little question. Have you already created an O365 account? But it's really a proxy for that. Because if you're doing this through Open, for example, then you will have already set up your Office 365 account. If you're doing it through Advisor, you won't. And the great thing is about the SkyKick platform for this selling motion point of view is you could have done nothing other than making sure you've got, you're set up as an Office 365 partner of record for a customer, and you don't have to do any work over that Office 365 tenant. You can start literally from scratch here as long as you're set up as a partner and basically say, nope, I haven't set that up yet, but let's go ahead and test and see. Is that on Microsoft domain for that customer going to be available? So we'll call them Awesome IT Customer SMB Nation, and we'll check. So you're checking right now, our platform's checking with Microsoft. Is that internal on Microsoft domain available? Yep. And now what's really, really cool, we're bringing together so many worlds. And so I can't tell you how many raves we get from partners saying, this screen, you got me here with one username and one password, and I was here within minutes. This really shortcuts the sales cycle for me. So where we are is we've got one username and one password. We've discovered all the users on the customer's environment. Every single email address that's there, and there's tons, okay, because I entered in some credentials for a larger customer. And now I have the facility to sort of review with the customer whether I'm doing it as a co-browse, whether I'm going on site, whether I'm taking this stuff on the SkyKick platform and packaging it up and printing it out. Whatever the case may be, this becomes a live migration plan. This becomes a real live representation of this customer's current business data. And we have the opportunity now to show this customer that we're using this great platform. It's, we're going to move you to the cloud, and we're going to respect your business data, and we're going to make sure you're licensed appropriately along the way, which is the right-hand side. And then, oh, by the way, it's not just users' data and users and licenses, but you've made business decisions. You've configured public folders. You've created shared mailbox, DGs. Guess what? With one username and one password, the platform has discovered all of that, and this just isn't a snapshot. This is configurable for you, okay? So as a partner, you can really wow the customer and show them that you're the right one to move them to the cloud. Or if you're a customer that's already won the deal, you're going to show them why it's valuable that you drive the show, that you drive the car, that you run the show, that it's better to better for them to let you run the migration project rather than them trying to waste hours, take on risk, time, productivity hits by trying to move themselves to the cloud. They're not experts at it. A, you're an expert. B, you're using the industry-leading platform. And it's almost can become a no-brainer, when you're able to show them the robustness of what you're able to offer them. So let me show you what I mean by that. So we'll do a quick example. I see we've discovered a woman named Aaliyah Carroll here. And oh, by the way, what's always going to happen invariably, you'll talk to a customer, and the customer will say, yep, we're a 25-person shop. You'll do this discovery with one username and one password, and you'll discover 50 people or 50 email accounts. And why is that? Well, that company hasn't changed platforms for the past 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And guess what? All those accounts that are in their environment, whether it's top, whether it's Exchange, whatever the source environment, all those accounts have stacked up. And what you're going to be able to do now is say, hey, this Aaliyah Wheeler, customer might say, this Aaliyah Wheeler has left the company, so I don't want to buy an Office 365 license. But you as a partner can say, hey, she left the company, but does she have any important mail that you want to bring across for retention purposes or maybe some active sales leads or whatever? So let's go ahead and migrate her data across, and I'll just pick the name right here at the top, migrate it to her mailbox, click Update, and what's really happened, you can see this fancy mode icon lit up. What's happened is we've grayed out Aaliyah Wheeler from the migration plan, so there's no Office 365 license which the customer will need to procure, so you're helping them true up their licensing, number one. And number two, their business data. So let's say she was in sales, all of her sales contacts, everything is coming across here to Aaliyah Carroll, or if we had more time, I just want to get through this demo, I could have set up a shared mailbox or some other facility to migrate that customer's data to. But in really, really simplest terms, you're able to, this is why partners do this in the co-browse. You're able to go through and make this plan very real, make it friendly to what they're trying to achieve, and give them some cost efficiencies because you're truing up their licensing. So the other thing that's happening on the right in terms of truing up the licensing is you're able to talk about the licensing plans that you want for them. And the price waterfall here is available and viewable. And so you can be talking about K-plan, E-plan. It could be a not-for-profit. It could be an EDU. Whatever Office 365 plan there is, that plan can be configured in the Office 365 platform, in the SkyKick platform here. So let's just say I'm going to go ahead and show the E-plans. And now, after you've hypothetically gone through and I found 12 more Aaliyah Wheelers, right? And I went through this and I moved people off of the migration plan. We're moving their data. You're moving their data, but you're not going to license them in Office 365. It's far easier to have that conversation with a customer why their C-suite or their executive suite should have the E3 or the E4 licenses. And so you can see up top, I'm doing a bulk edit movement right now. So, yeah.
Hey, AJ, every time I see easy begins now, I'll interrupt you.
Easy questions, that means, right?
Yeah, got 3 questions queued up. So, and just FYI, folks, we have just over 15 minutes left for the webinar. be sure to use the chat feature for your questions. The gentleman from Norway is asking, would you consider making DNS integration for registrars in Norway?
Will we consider what integration for what registrars in Norway?
Yeah. Apparently, I think domain registers in Norway for your DNS integration. I think that's what the question is.
Yeah, we're going to get.
Does
I'm
that
going
make
to get to the DNS piece. Yeah, I'm going to show you the DNS piece in just a moment. The answer to that question,
Okay.
let me make sure I address it head on, is our software. I think it's about 9. The DNS registrars that represent, at least in North America, and our story is evolving internationally. We've hired more people internationally, particularly in Europe, for the gentleman or the woman in Norway. And so our capabilities and our international friendliness are growing. I can tell you today that our automation, and it's going to be this next step, for the DNS registrars out there, our automation can help you automate DNS for about 90% of the market in North America. Now, I don't know, and I apologize, I don't know the answer in terms of what our coverage is in Europe and what our automation will
Sure.
cover. The cool thing, though, is in our technology, the partner in Norway is going to be able to see right on this next step whether the automation validates or not, and they can use our automation for the DNS piece. And so if they can't, we'll take that data point and take feedback that, hey, maybe we should put a different registrar on our map to automate. But even if they can't, they can still use 85% of the automation, right? Even if you have to manually do DNS, all the other parts of the automation can still be at your fingertips. So if there's a particular registrar in mind, you can email me, and we'll take a look at it. But I do know our international capacity and our international just easiness is rapidly improving because, frankly, we've gotten a lot of international partners just over the past 6 months, and we frankly we're trying to embrace that market to be equal with how we have success in North America.
Next question, pretty straightforward. Does this work, your tool, does this work with a syndicated partner of Microsoft?
So a syndicated partner like a GoDaddy or some sort of syndicated version.
Yeah, and I know syndicators to be telecoms. That word gets thrown around, but I think we're both telling the truth. But syndicator.
Sure. Yeah, as long whatever the source environment, if it's from a syndication of Office 365 to Microsoft's own Office 365, yes, our platform supports O to O. Our platform supports from whatever flavor of hosted or on-prem. So yeah, the source environment, the only wonkiness ever with source environments, candidly, is this rich discovery that I'm doing with one username and one password. It works tremendously well for the technology that I showed you earlier, right? All these source environments, so hosted Exchange, on-prem Exchange, whatever. If we're talking about things like GroupWise, Notes, or Zimbra, that's the case where I don't quite have. I can't guarantee one username, one password discovery. So those are cases where you would want to bring your own CSV file to the table. But a syndicated O365 or a syndicated hosted Exchange or whatever, that should be the same uniform product experience you're seeing me show you right now.
Okay, last question for this round is, I think that's a quick one. Will SkyKick import existing Exchange 2010 transport rules?
Yeah, so any of those settings in terms of mail routing and all that good stuff, we've designed to take the guesswork out of the equation, and we actually try to do a good job of highlighting what we don't do. So, for example, we're still working on mail and calendar permissions outside of WebDAV and EWS environments. We're still working on rules that are client-side rules overall, and so we've highlighted where we don't do things. And if there's a check here, that means there's been some serious due diligence behind it. And if there's ever any deeper technical questions, I can't stress enough. Here in this learning center, there's a bevy. This is, I think, now. Last time I printed this learning center out, it was 29 pages. There's even more stuff here now, right, from the business side all the way through to the technical side. And so, if the question's not being answered, that I come back to my point about our support team. Our support team is great, and again, international friendly, 5 days a week, 24 by 5, basically. So if you ever have a question, support at SkyKick or the 800 number, or the 888 number. So I'm going to go through this, Harry, if you don't mind. I want to get through the end of the demo just to show the end of the experience, and then do some more questions towards the end. So this is one where, we configured the licensing, we're configuring the users. I could have done some very, very robust things. I could go into here and do sort of bulk edit, this concept of bulk edit fancy mode. So these are all things that used to have to be an Exchange engineer to do that, you can say, hey, I'm going to the question earlier about domains, I want to go ahead and change everyone's primary domain, or I want to add an alias from an A domain to a B domain. I can do that in bulk for all these users right now. So I'm not going to go ahead and show that experience. Email format. Again, just like users want to make changes as they're moving, your customer might want to make changes and have a normalization thing where everyone is first dot last at awesome IT, or first dot last at awesome SMB Nation customer, or last dot first, or whatever normalization you want to do. You can do that here with a click of a button. So the cool thing is we're in this sandbox right now for this migration plan. Public folders. You discover public folders, SkyKick can migrate them. And SkyKick treats a public folder just like a mailbox. And so if I come back to this chart very briefly, oops, and I scroll down again. So you can see public folders, we called it new, but basically public folder permissions as well. All that stuff can come across, taking the guesswork out, taking some of that customer pain off the plate, and enabling you to charge a premium, frankly, for the service. So you can configure all that, discover. You can see I'm getting an alert here. It's basically saying the automation platform discovered a public folder, but no one is a member. And so, just like if you were trying to book a travel flight where the outbound date preceded the inbound date, it's going to basically tell you, hey, you can't do that. And what this is designed to let you not make a mistake in how you're configuring the migration plan. So I added a member so that public folder no longer just exists out in the ether. Someone has access to it. You could add and configure shared mailboxes. DGs, like look at this one has 44. With a click of a button, I could say, you know what? They don't want to bring across that DG. And actually, we want to configure a new one, right? So SMB All-Stars, right? We could just do that right there, submit, and go ahead and create a new DG. Now, again, there's the error. You have to have a member of that DG. Well, let me add, what was that gentleman's name? Isaac, right? There we go. Well, Isaac Newman rather than Newton. Add to the list. There we go. So, you can do all this right now. And the question we always get, here's the additional domain piece. If there were multiple vanity domains, we would go through, add the username and password for that other vanity domain, and go through that experience. As I said before, the enterprise product experience, which I'm not showing you, would even have more robust options here. So the question I always get from partners here is, hey, are you doing anything on the customer's environment? Are you changing the customer's environment around? Are you kicking off an order with Microsoft? Are people going to be aware that I'm doing this? And the answer emphatically is no, okay? This is all designed to be pre-sales. There are no costs associated for you as a partner, and there are no things that you are changing on the customer's environment, nor orders are you signing on the Microsoft tenant environment. This is meant for you to get your statement of work created. And the cool thing is, all the way through, you probably have seen below this save for later, save for later. When you're done with this process, and I do the DNS steps and how we want to do password reception, all that stuff, you can convert from sandbox to planning to real and actually schedule the migration and schedule the deployment. But for right now, this is all meant for your team to really just impress the heck out of the customer. So a lot of partners will do this as a co-browse. Okay, last piece. So we've discovered all the users. We've configured what we want to do with their shared mailboxes, if there's an A and B domain, if there are distribution groups, how we want to license them on Office 365, all this stuff. Well, now we come to sort of the last mile configuration. How's the actual deployment going to run? And the two key pieces of that are going to, or three key really, are end user interaction. What role do you want end users to play in the project or not? How do you want the DNS piece, which we talked about briefly before, to go? Because we got to change the DNS settings to point to Office 365. And then lastly, the bandwidth stuff we talked about. So Harry, your audience has done a phenomenal job at sort of telegraphing all the steps involved in the project. So I'm kind of excited that they already knew all the things we should be talking about. So let me now go through them pretty quickly here to close out the demo portion of this. So interacting with end users. In the SMB space, there are two main ways to go about doing this. First is, hey, let's go ahead. We've already discovered all the end users on that migration plan. Let's go ahead and send automatic emails that are branded with Awesome IT, branded with your logo, to those end users, asking them to download the SkyKick Outlook Assistant and go ahead and ask them to provide their passwords. So the SkyKick Outlook Assistant, for those of you who are already actively following along, and I know you are because you've asked me all these great questions, is the piece of technology that basically represents what those light blue checkboxes do. It's an agent technology that installs on each end user's desktop, and it basically plays the role that you would play, but you don't have to go desktop by desktop, and you can do things remotely, and you don't have to go on site. And it's going to do all those things for you prior to the cutover and at the cutover. And so that SkyKick Outlook Assistant can get installed by, interacting with the users directly, sending them an email, asking them to provide their password credentials, and downloading the SkyKick Outlook Assistant. That's sort of the main option in SMB. What the other option that we're seeing evolve is, hey, you could say, I've already got the users' passwords. I already know their passwords, and I don't want to really interact with them whatsoever, or I want to minimize my interaction with them. Well, if that's the case, you can push out the SkyKick Outlook Assistant through Group Policy MSI, right? And it's going to show up white labeled in the corner of the screen, right, in the sys tray. It's a light 15 meg install, and it's basically there. So they might notice it, so they might ask questions about it, but you don't necessarily have to interact with them. And if you did have to interact with them, the experience is very simple. They would provide their user information. At some point, it's going to ask them, hey, I see that there are multiple PST files there. Which one is your primary? On the back end, this gives you transition. You'll get alerts that you can sort of monitor if there are things that they have chosen that you disagree with or you want to double check on. You as a partner will be prompted proactively. But basically, it's provide your password, download this, and then wait for the migration date. And at the cutover date, the agent's going to wake up and say, hey, please log in, log out of email. And that is the extent, even in the crowdsource model of really involving end users, that's the extent of the interaction. All the way through, it's business as usual, no mail flow delay, no interruptions, nothing. Now, the MSI group policy push, if you do it that way, plus if you already got their current passwords, you can really minimize to almost 0 to very, very low touch end users during the entire process. And some partners opt for that, others opt for the crowdsourcing. It's really going to be up to you. Here's an example of what the preview mails look like. So if I say, hey, here's this initial notification, obviously it has your logo right there. And it has all the information about, okay, congrats, the CEO of our company is moving to Office 365. SMB Nation Awesome IT is the partners that's moving us. Click here to get started. That drives them to download the SkyKick Outlook Assistant and to provide the passwords. And again, that's the most basic way forward, with ways all the way through what we call store-side impersonation and you not having to interact with the end users as much. Now, we do all that, and now this is the whole discussion I was having with our Norway colleague around DNS. So let's say in North America for sure, if this is a GoDaddy, or just think of any of the typical DNSs you run across, no problem. What we're going to do now is say, hey, if you've gotten the DNS creds from your customer, you can go ahead and enter them in right now prior to the migration. And what the SkyKick platform is going to do for you is you're going to validate that you can fully automate DNS. And what fully validating DNS means is you don't have to do a thing. You can go ahead and say, I'm going to check now, and if the platform can see the zone files and Amex records, it's going to automate those changes to Office 365 for you. Now, if we fail this automation right here, we fail this test, this pre-test, you can come back and say, oh, well, you know what, we'll do partial automation or manual. So in the case of Norway, where no automation is possible, or maybe it's a financial services customer, or maybe it's a healthcare customer, and they're just really skeptical about you even doing anything with the DNS, and you want to do everything manually, you have that facility right here. What the point of this is popping up and saying, hey, if you pick this, there's task and time. And task and time is important because everything in your bid in terms of making margin, you have to really be able to predict your hours and know that, okay, this is a 4-hour project, an 8-hour project, a 12-hour project, and bill it accordingly. And so there's an absolute premium placed on helping you think about the scope of this project. So I'm now at final review, and I'm going to come to the other important piece that was brought up, which is, how am I going to go ahead and manually throttle things if I need to? So you can see this question here, server sync. Default settings are optimized for most servers, but sometimes there's scenarios where you want to slow it down to a drip during the day or open it up at night and all those things, and you can do that right here with a custom throttle. So I'm really glad that question got asked. This is a relatively newer feature we've added, and it's basically saying, hey, make sure you check these boxes correctly, no mistakes in the migration plan, and that logic is baked in. So I add a custom throttle. Right here, I'm not going to show you this, but I can export this, and what this is going to export is all the choices I made. This is basically an addendum you would put into your SOW or information you would pull into your SOW that walks through all the users, all the licenses, What are you doing with public folders? What are you doing with shared mailboxes? All that information. Okay, and that's that export button right there. And we come to the end. We say, okay, this is what your customer, this is a larger customer, 287 seats, basically saying if everyone signed up for E3, E4, here's what the customer's bill would be. And you can execute that right now and provision Office 365 all without having to leave this platform. So I'll go ahead and send that to myself, SkyKick.com. And basically now I will, go ahead and schedule this. I'll do that. And what's going to happen is it's going to save this for later, and basically I'm ready to execute. So I can save this, and I have baked fully this deployment plan. And at some point, I can come back, just as we all know, you're going to walk through a customer through a demo or give them a presentation, give them a pitch, and in all likelihood, they're probably not ready to go right away. But when they come back, you simply go back into this saved plan and go ahead and click. Let's go ahead and click deploy, and you're ready to move that customer to the cloud. So we're here back at the final review stage. Some changes might have occurred, whatever the case. You get to the end here, and you say, hey, we're ready to go. Place the order, right? So I'm going to come back and just take a look at some in-progress projects and show you now what does it look like, and we're about out of time, so I'll be very, very quick here and very brief, Harry. What does it look like when I'm running these projects as a partner? So you can see we've landed here in the partner portal. This is the migration dashboard. And you can see these phases that are partner phases. How are each one of my projects going? Well, the Office 365 piece has been set up. Passwords, we've gotten passwords from all the users. Has that agent, the SCO agent, been installed? How is that pre-sync, that very important pre-sync and Delta sync going? What about the DNS piece? Are there any issues? And how is final sync going? And so if I click into any of these, you start to see, well, I can look at this as a task view, right? So I look at this and I say, okay, here's an issue. Let me click on this advisory issue. And we're going to see the name of the alert. This is saying, hey, for this phase, and again, this is all prior to the cutover, so nothing has happened to your customer's environment. This is all testing, pilot phase, prior to the cutover, so no surprises. This stuff needs to be verified prior for the DNS step to proceed. So you get an alert, comes in your email, it's here in your partner portal, and it walks you through all of this. So that's a quick whirlwind tour of how the platform looks and works. Let me close here with a quick just 30-second overview of, we covered all that. SkyKick was designed to basically help you bid on and win more deals. I didn't talk about the Enterprise Suite at length. I didn't talk about the new data-only suite, which is just the data. So we've got many more options now that when you log in and register as a SkyKick partner, we do our own training webinars 2 or 3 times a week. We'll also do customized onboarding. So we would love to have you as a partner if you're not currently a partner. Registering is easy. Literally everything I just did is free to use. We charge you at the end. And basically the net of it is, from an economic point of view, is that partners I talk to daily are making, for every 100 users they move to the cloud, they are making in margin, in bottom line profit, roughly 5K plus every 100 users using the SkyKick platform. And the economics and everything is all baked in to the Learning Center and the guidance, and I'll personally talk you through it if you want to get started. But basically, it's free to get started. There's no gateway. You just need a Microsoft partner number. We highly recommend if you're an Ingram Micro or a Synnex partner, you come in with your Ingram Micro or your Synnex ID because of some baked-in discounts. And to close, we've got a promo that is, it's for sure in the market right now in Canada with explicit dates the end of March. And in the U.S., the dates are, right now, it's a little bit of a moving target. But basically, this turbo promotion is me saying to you, you could have had a little bit of a skeptical, doubting Thomas point of view on everything I showed you and everything we did. But if you're a U.S. or Canadian partner, and if you're one of these European partners, give me a call personally, send me an email. We want to give you a discount on your first project. And not only your first project, but second and the third, because we've seen it firsthand. Harry has seen it firsthand. Partners who are scaling after this, they're making a very lucrative business in terms of money they're making, and they're strategically shoring up their base of Office 365 accounts so their customers aren't being poached away. And if you get through your first 3 projects on our platform, we think you're going to think this is a great business as well. Thank you so much for letting me run over, Harry.
Sure. And folks, before we get away, appreciate you staying a couple minutes over. Do us all a favor. If you like the work we do at SMB Nation, over the last 15 years, when you sign up for SkyKick, under How Did You Hear About Us, please, please, please choose SMB Nation. We appreciate it. And so at that registration link, one of the questions, maybe 6 or 7 fields in, is how did you hear about SkyKick? And like I say, if you appreciate what we do, appreciate the love tap from you if you could pick SMB Nation. With that said, AJ, we have a couple of questions. Folks, you will be receiving a follow-up email from Heather, who's back in the radio control room. And so we'll make sure we get you the sign-up links and the contact information for SkyKick. Don't forget, next week we have the weekly webinar. So let's knock out, I got a couple questions as we kind of head into overtime. We have Exchange 2003 Standard SP2. Are additional specific updates needed for your AD discovery tool to work? So Active Directory tool discovery with SP2 in Exchange 03.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So the web dev environment, it's all going to work fine, but you're going to see here in our technical documentation, again, this is beyond the partner login screen. We've got whole guides for you in terms of things you need to do on your side. Our software works without touching things like DirSync or in terms of AD, and there's all these instructions here. So it'll work, but there's some guidance about how to optimize it, and it's all here behind the firewall.
Let's see, is there a way, interesting question, this one, is there a way to still own the billing of the client if I move them to Office 365? I thought we resolved that with Microsoft. I think that's almost a Microsoft question on customer billing.
Well, that's open, right? That you would do that as a partner. That's the open license, right? Yep. You buy the licenses from the disti, and you own the billing relationship.
Yep. We have a question that I think you partially answered and certainly can follow up with individuals. Can you discuss partner pricing for SkyKick? I think you've kind of covered off on that, but why don't you want to hit that one real quick, and we can make that part of the follow-up email, and that people can reach you.
Absolutely. So pricing it's basically in the SMB space. It's basically designed for, and this is a good example. So we spent so much talking about SMB. The pricing is relevant to SMB and Enterprise. It's for the first 50 mailboxes on a project. Through disti, it's about $48 US per mailbox to get everything: the Office 365 provisioning, the Outlook client setup, signature blocks, address autocompletes, all that stuff that you see in SMB and Enterprise. After seats 50 and beyond on a project, it drops down to $28 per mailbox. So your blended average, for 100 seats, you're roughly looking at, not quite $4,000. The flip side of that is you're spending $4,000 on a project before might have taken you 80 hours of work to do, including the client-side configuration. Now you're bringing that down to, say, 8 hours, and you're charging the customer, and we've got guidance on this in the Learning Center, but you're probably charging that customer over $100 per mailbox. And so your margins, even when you factor out your SkyKick licensing costs, and oh, by the way, our partner model, we don't charge you for licenses up front. There's no concept of pre-buy. You get a SkyKick bill after a successful migration. And so, you already know that margin is going to get it. You literally wrote the SOW with that margin in mind. And so let's say roughly your SkyKick licensing costs are $4K on a 100-seat project, and your hours are 8 hours at whatever your fully loaded rate is for your professional services team, and plus whatever pre-sales recapture. Your costs are very low, and yet you're billing over $100 per mailbox. And that's the number one piece of guidance on pricing, Harry, is fixed fee. You're going to do fixed fee migrations when you use SkyKick. You're going to take cost as a variable and nail it down up front and charge by mailbox, because the migration plan, as we saw, is going to change. And right up until the migration date, the customer might want to add a mailbox, take a mailbox away, add a public folder, all that sort of good stuff. And so if you give them a fixed fee by mailbox, you as a partner are covered, and the margins you're going to earn again on that are 50, 60 points or better, to the tune of 5K plus in margin on a 100-seat project, just on the migration, not counting the Office 365 annuity.
Okie dokie. 2 more questions, and then we'll call it a day. And folks, if we don't get to your question, by all means, stream them in, and we'll respond to them on email. But I think we're good. The question is, I am getting this. We recommend installing the SkyKick Exchange Assistant looks like the word almost ska or ski.
Yeah.
Or advanced multiple discovery. What does this do? What does SKI do?
SKIA, sure. It's a great question, and I'll come back again because I always like to have a visual for these sorts of things. So
sure.
If we go back up here to this chart here, where you see these gray check boxes, this is SKIA. So things like permissions for mail and calendar and public folders. SKIA is an agent that it basically installs on the Windows server. We call it the SkyKick Exchange Assistant, and it will automate those things for you, right? And so if you want to do things like public folder permissions, mail and calendar permissions, if we're talking about WebDAV or EWS, you want to get that SKIA agent installed, and again, within the partner portal, within actually doing that project, if that SKIA alert popped up, you'll see the partner who's asking that question will see a link about how to grab this SKIA, whatever the interface is, and get that installed on the Windows server for that customer's environment. But it's going to do those things. Great checkboxes.
Okay, great. And then the final question, actually there's one I'll take on real quick. Can we get a copy of the slide deck? Are you able to release this deck to people as a follow-up? Is that a public deck?
We can absolutely give it to partners. It is not for public consumption, so it's for partners for their own use, not something to be repurposed to customers. We keep our pricing and all this information tight to the vest because I don't want you to feel the call from your customer saying, hey, I see SkyKick cost you X, you're charging me X plus Y percentage point, I want a lower rate. You should hold that information close to the vest and charge what you need to charge to make sense for your business. And so all of our deep process technical pricing information, this is all behind the firewall because our software is for you guys, not for customers.
Yeah. So AJ, if you don't mind, why don't we do this, is if you have some resources you can share, let's attach it to the follow-up email. How's that sound? And
perfect.
And SkyKick will be the best judge on that. Final question, real question. For those buying an open license, there is a process for those as well, relating to the credit card part we saw in the demo. Not sure if I no offense, not sure if I completely understand the question, but it sounds like through open in the credit card process with you guys, if you want to take that one on.
Yeah, so I did gloss over that really quickly. The concept here is that pretty early on, about the third screen of the project configuration, you see the thing which the screen pops up and says, hey, do you already have an Office 365 tenant set up? So if you were doing this through open, and let's say you're working with Ingram Micro or Synix and you already bought your open licenses, you would have already created the Office 365 tenant for this customer. And on that screen, you simply type in the credentials you have for that tenant that you already set up. And then from there, our software is going to pull and validate against those licenses in terms of when you're migrating from source to that tenant. And it's going to make sure that you bought enough licenses to map your migration plan. So let's say you only bought 10 licenses through open, and the migration plan you're trying to move forward with has 50 licenses. You're going to get an alert at that point from our system telling you, hey, there's a license gap. You're going to need to get some more licenses from Ingram Micro or Synix into that tenant before the migration can flip over. Now, that's the open way. The advisor way is, as I tried to say this before, you don't have to do anything other than be set up as a Microsoft reseller with access to do Office 365. You go into go through our partner portal from start to finish, and as long as you have those validated MPN creds, our software is going to create for you the delegated admin creds. You'll get the mail from, we've written an API basically from our interface to Microsoft to do all that heavy lifting for you to both license and provision the tenant and give you as the partner all the partner creds. It's going to give you the delegated admin, and it's going to enable that transaction, that credit card transaction between your customer and Microsoft where you're getting that partner record. And let me be very, very clear, in no way, shape, or form anywhere along the way does SkyKick want partner record. The partner record is for you as Microsoft reseller partners, and we know that you count on that annuity.
Okie dokie. Well, hey, AJ, we kind of went into overtime, folks, as they like to say on the Bill Maher show up on HBO, but well worth it. Well worth it because we had a lot of questions. So as always, appreciate the time, the SkyKick individuals as well as the customers today. It is the start of the year. Keep your eye on 2015, guys. I know I tend to talk too much about CNBC and some of the economics, but this is feeling a lot like 2003, 2004, 2005, so good times ahead, and that means your time's even more valuable, so appreciate the hour that you took. Stay tuned for the follow-up email and then details on our next webinar. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.